Hey, English learners, welcome back to Mr. English Fluent Tutor, and welcome back to another wonderful episode. I am Anna.
And I am Abel.
Abel, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What do you think about when you hear the words learning to love yourself more than anyone else?
Honestly, Anna, my first thought is that it sounds really selfish. Like when someone says they love themselves more than anyone else, I immediately picture a person who is totally conceited, someone who does not care about their friends, their family, or their community at all. It sounds like a person who just walks around putting themselves first in the most arrogant way possible.
Oh, I completely understand why it sounds that way, Abel. And I think so many people feel exactly the same thing when they first hear those words. But here's the beautiful truth. Self-love is not about being selfish or ignoring the people around you. It's actually the most essential foundation you need before you can genuinely give love or care or energy to anyone else in your life.
Wait, so you're saying that loving myself actually helps me love other people better? That is a completely new way of thinking about it for me. I always assumed that putting other people first was the most generous and kind thing you could do. Are you saying that thinking is actually backwards in some way?
Yes, Abel, that is exactly what I am saying, and it's a really important shift in thinking. Imagine for a moment that your emotional energy, your patience, your kindness, all of that beautiful inner resource, imagine it is like water sitting inside a bottle. If the bottle is completely empty, you simply have nothing left to offer anyone around you, no matter how much you want to give.
That makes so much sense, Anna, when you put it that way. So if I keep ignoring my own needs and saying yes to every single demand that people place on me, I am basically pouring that precious water out onto the floor until there's nothing remaining. And eventually, I just have an empty bottle and nothing to give anyone, including myself.
Exactly, Abel, and that's such a perfect way to carry the idea forward. Loving yourself means being intentional about protecting your water. It means making sure you refill that bottle regularly through rest, through moments of quiet, through activities that genuinely bring you joy. When your bottle is full, you naturally overflow with kindness and generosity for the people you truly care about.
Wow, I really love that image of the water in the bottle. It makes the whole concept feel so practical and real. Because honestly, I think most of us were raised to believe that being a good person meant always putting everyone else ahead of our own needs. But what you're describing sounds much more sustainable and honestly much healthier in the long run for everyone involved.
You're 100% right, Abel. And sustainability is such a key word here. You cannot run a car with no fuel in the tank, and you cannot run a human life with no emotional fuel either. The people in your life who you love the most actually deserve the best version of you, and the best version of you only shows up when you have taken care of yourself first, with genuine intention and compassion.
That really lands deeply, Anna. And I think one of the biggest reasons people struggle with self-love is because they don't even feel like they deserve it in the first place. Like there's this quiet little voice inside that keeps saying, you are not good enough. You have too many flaws. Other people are so much better than you are. Does that kind of inner voice sound familiar to you?
Oh, Abel, it sounds incredibly familiar. And I think that inner voice is something almost every single person on this planet experiences at some point in their journey. That voice is rooted in what we can call insecurity, and it really does distort the way we see ourselves in relation to others around us. It's like standing in a room and looking out of the wrong window entirely.
Oh, I love that image, Anna. A room with different windows. Can you explain that a little more? Because I think that's a really powerful way to think about it. Like, what does looking out the wrong window actually look and feel like in real daily life for an ordinary person trying to get through their week?
Yes, absolutely able. So imagine a room that has two windows. The first window is covered with a thick, cloudy layer of gray film. And when you look through that window, everything outside appears dark and distorted. That cloudy window represents insecurity and comparison. When you look through it, everyone else in your life appears absolutely perfect, successful, and completely without flaws, while you appear to be full of permanent problems.
And I can totally picture that cloudy window because I feel like I look through it all the time, honestly. Especially when I scroll through social media and I see everyone posting their highlight moments, their best achievements, their most confident smiles, and suddenly my own life feels incredibly small and full of gaps and imperfections by comparison. That cloudy window is very real.
It truly is Abel, and social media makes that cloudy window even thicker and more distorted than it already is. But now imagine turning around inside that same room and looking out of the second window. This window looks out onto a beautiful green garden, full of diverse, unique flowers and plants, all growing at completely different natural speeds and in completely different beautiful directions.
Oh, wow. I really love that second window so much already. So, looking through the green garden window means you can finally see your own unique qualities clearly without comparing them to someone else's path or timeline. It means treating your own mistakes and your slow days and your imperfect moments with the same genuine kindness you would offer to a close friend who is struggling.
Exactly right, Abel. And that shift from the cloudy window to the green garden window is really at the heart of what self-love looks and feels like in practice. It's not about believing you're flawless or perfect. It's about choosing to focus on your unique growth, your individual journey, and treating yourself with the same patient and generous compassion that you freely offer to the people you love.
That's such a beautiful and balanced perspective, Anna, and it actually makes me think about a word that connects perfectly to everything you just described. I think the word is self-acceptance, and I feel like it comes up a lot in conversations about personal growth and emotional wellness. How would you define self-acceptance in simple, everyday English for our learners today?
Great question, Abel. And this is actually one of our important vocabulary words for today. Self acceptance is the ongoing practice of acknowledging and embracing who you are right now, including your strengths, your weaknesses, your quirks, and your imperfections, without making your sense of worth dependent on becoming perfect or achieving some distant ideal version of yourself.
I really appreciate that definition, Anna. And a simple example sentence that I would use in daily conversation might be something like this. She is working on her self-acceptance by reminding herself every morning that she does not need to be perfect in order to be worthy of love and belonging. Does that feel like a natural way to use that word in real life?
That is a perfect example sentence, Abel, and it captures the spirit of the word beautifully. Self acceptance is ongoing. It's a daily practice, and it's not a destination you arrive at once and then it's finished forever. It's more like a gentle, continuous conversation you have with yourself every single day, choosing kindness over criticism each time that cloudy window voice tries to take over.
Okay, so now I'm really starting to understand that self-love and self-acceptance aren't about arriving somewhere perfect. They're more about the daily choices you make and how you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself. But here's a question I have, Anna. What if a person genuinely feels like they have no confidence at all right now? Like, where do you even start?
Oh, Abel, that is such a real and honest question, and it is the one most people are quietly asking but feel too shy to say out loud. And my answer is this. You do not need to build perfect confidence overnight. Think of building self-love like crossing a wide river by stepping on individual stepping stones. You do not jump from one bank to the other in a single massive leap.
Right. That sounds much more manageable than trying to overhaul your entire inner world in one dramatic moment. So each stepping stone would represent one small act of self-care or self-kindness that moves you a little further across the river. And I imagine those stones could look completely different for different people, depending on their personality and their daily life situation.
Exactly, Abel, and I love how you extended that image. Here's another way to think about those stepping stones. Imagine each small act of self-care as a coin in your pocket. Every time you take a quiet 10-minute walk without your phone, every time you write down one single positive thought about yourself, every time you cook a meal you genuinely enjoy, you are dropping a coin into your pocket and slowly building your inner wealth one moment at a time.
Oh, that pocket coin idea is really wonderful, Anna. because it takes away the pressure of needing to do some massive, dramatic self-improvement project every single day. It says that even the tiniest, ordinary moments of treating yourself well actually count and accumulate over time. Like every small coin adds up until your pocket is genuinely full and heavy with self-worth.
Beautifully said, Abel. And that accumulation is so important to understand because progress in self-love is almost never dramatic or sudden. It is quiet and gradual and deeply personal. And those pocket coin moments are also the perfect way to respond when that inner critical voice shows up and says you are not doing enough or you are not making progress fast enough. Each coin tells that voice it is wrong.
I think a lot of our English learners who are listening right now can also apply that pocket coin idea directly to their language learning journey, because learning English is also full of small daily wins that accumulate over time, right? Every new word you learn, every conversation you manage to complete, every sentence you understand without translating it first is another coin in your language pocket.
Oh, Abel, I love that connection so much. And it is 100% true. The mindset of self-love and the mindset of patient language learning are actually deeply intertwined. Both require you to celebrate small progress, to treat your mistakes as information rather than as evidence of failure, and to keep showing up for yourself even on the days when it all feels difficult and slow and uncertain.
That is so encouraging to hear, Anna. Now, I want to bring up something that I think makes the self-love journey much harder for most people in the modern world, and that is the habit of comparison. Like constantly measuring your life, your body, your career, your intelligence against other people is something that feels almost impossible to escape. How do we deal with that, honestly?
That is such a relevant question, Abel, because comparison truly is one of the most powerful thieves of inner peace that we know of. And here's a really helpful way to think about it. Imagine your mind is like a kitchen knife. When a knife is clean and sharp, it can do its job beautifully and efficiently. But when a knife is thick with grime and residue, it becomes dull and it cannot cut through anything cleanly.
Okay, so a dirty knife is like a mind that is cluttered with constant social comparison, endless scrolling, and measuring yourself against everyone else's external life. And a clean knife is a focused mind that is simply pointing its attention at your own growth and your own path. I think I really get that image. So how do you actually clean the knife in real, practical daily life situations?
Great question, Abel. Cleaning the knife in real life looks like intentionally reducing the amount of time you spend scrolling through other people's curated highlight reels on social media. It also looks like redirecting your attention when you notice comparison thoughts rising up, gently saying to yourself something like, I am on my own unique path, and my timeline is completely valid and enough.
Mm-hmm. I love that self-talk redirection idea, Anna. And it brings up another one of our vocabulary words for today because I think the process of comparison and the harm it causes is captured really well by that specific word itself. So the word today is comparison. How would you define that word simply for our learners who might not be totally familiar with it in this emotional growth context?
Yes, so comparison in this context means the act of measuring yourself, your qualities, your progress, or your circumstances against those of another person, usually in a way that makes you feel inferior or not good enough. It often involves focusing on what someone else has that you believe you lack, rather than appreciating the unique value and progress that already exists in your own life and journey.
And I would use it in a daily life sentence like this. Constant comparison to other people on social media was making him feel deeply unhappy. So he decided to take a 2-week break from his phone and focus entirely on his own personal growth and daily routines. That kind of digital break, honestly, sounds like something I need to try for myself very soon, honestly.
Oh, Abel, I think many of us need that break, and it takes real courage to step away from those platforms because they are genuinely designed to keep pulling you back in. And when you do step away, even briefly, you often discover something really surprising, which is that your own life, your own daily moments, your own quiet experiences are actually much richer and more meaningful than you ever gave them credit for.
That is such a beautiful point, Anna, and it actually leads me to something I want to be totally honest with you today, because I think one of my personal struggles with self-love is this. I have this voice inside my head that constantly tells me I'm not smart enough, not confident enough, not fluent enough in English, not successful enough, and it's exhausting carrying that voice around every single day.
Abel, thank you so much for sharing that because it takes real courage to say those words out loud. And I want you to know that voice is something almost every learner and every growing person experiences. But I want to show you a really small and incredibly powerful tool that can completely change the energy of those negative inner statements. And the tool is just one single word.
Oh, now I'm really curious, Anna. One single word sounds almost too simple to be genuinely transformative, but at the same time, I've learned that the simplest tools are often the most powerful ones. So, what is this magic word that can change the way I hear those heavy negative statements my inner voice keeps throwing at me every day?
The magic word, Abel, is yet. That's it, just yet. So when your inner voice says, I'm not confident enough, you simply add the word yet to the end, and it becomes, I'm not confident enough yet. When it says, I'm not fluent in English, you say, I'm not fluent in English yet. That tiny three-letter word transforms a closed, heavy wall into an open, ongoing path of possibility and growth.
Oh, wow. I genuinely felt something shift just hearing you say that, Abel. Because the word yet completely changes the tone and the meaning of those statements. Without the word yet, those sentences feel like permanent verdicts, like the case is closed and there's no more room for change. But adding yet makes them feel like a journey that is still wonderfully unfinished and full of forward movement.
Exactly, Abel. And that shift from a fixed mindset to what many researchers call a growth mindset is one of the most powerful things you can do for your emotional well-being and your language learning journey at the same time. Because the growth mindset says, I'm not there yet, and that's perfectly fine because I'm still actively moving, still learning, still becoming who I want to be.
I'm going to start using the word yet every single day, honestly. It feels like a really gentle but powerful way to talk back to that inner critic without getting into a big, exhausting argument with yourself. You just add one word, and suddenly the statement has a completely different emotional texture, a different feeling of openness and possibility rather than heaviness and defeat.
hmm And speaking of the inner critic, Abel, I want to bring up something really important for our English learners, especially because I know so many of them feel a constant internal pressure when it comes to their learning. They feel like every time they make a mistake in English or struggle with a grammar point, there's some invisible, strict teacher sitting in the room, judging their every word and every error.
Oh, Anna, that description feels so real and relatable. I think a lot of learners, myself included at times, create this imaginary examination room inside their own minds, where they feel like every imperfect attempt is being graded and recorded and used as evidence that they are simply not good enough. That invisible judge sounds absolutely exhausting to live with every single day.
It is completely exhausting, Abel. And here is something I want every single learner listening to really hear today. There is no teacher hiding behind the sofa in your private mind. Your inner thoughts are not a strict examination room where every imperfect feeling or stumbling sentence is being graded by some harsh external authority. Private, messy, imperfect growth is exactly how real maturity and genuine fluency are developed over time.
I love that image so much, Hannah. No teacher behind the sofa. It makes me think about how many times I have stopped myself from trying something new, from speaking English in a conversation, or from expressing a feeling honestly, simply because I was afraid of being judged or graded or found lacking. That imaginary judge has cost me so many real opportunities for growth and connection.
And that is such an honest and courageous thing to recognize, Abel, because awareness is always the first step toward change. Once you can see that the judge is imaginary, you begin to take away its power over your choices. You start to give yourself permission to be imperfect, to try and stumble and try again, to let your learning and your self-love be genuinely messy and human and beautifully real.
Mm-hmm. I think this is also a good moment to talk about one of our vocabulary words for today that connects really well to everything we have been exploring. The word is validate. And I feel like it is a word that comes up a lot in emotional wellness conversations, but not everyone is totally sure what it means or how to use it naturally in everyday English speaking situations.
Yes, Abel. Validate is a wonderful and important word to know. To validate someone or to validate yourself means to recognize, confirm, and affirm that a feeling, an experience, or a perspective is real, understandable, and worthy of acknowledgement. It does not necessarily mean you agree with every thought or feeling, but it means you honor the fact that the feeling is genuinely there and that it matters and deserves attention.
And a great daily life example sentence using that word might be something like this. After a really difficult day at work, she sat quietly with a cup of tea and reminded herself that it was okay to feel tired and overwhelmed because validating her own emotions helped her process them much more gently and then move forward without unnecessary guilt or self-criticism. I think that sentence captures it really well.
That is a beautiful and very natural example sentence, Abel, and it highlights something so crucial about emotional health. We often wait for other people to validate our feelings before we allow ourselves to feel that those feelings are real and acceptable. But true self-love means learning to give yourself that validation first, to be your own gentle and reliable source of emotional acknowledgement and recognition.
Wow, that really does hit deeply, Anna, because I think so much of our emotional pain comes from waiting and needing external approval before we allow ourselves to feel okay about who we are or what we are going through. And learning to validate yourself first is such a radical and beautiful act of inner freedom and self-respect. It's almost like becoming your own best friend in the truest sense.
Exactly, Abel. And the idea of becoming your own best friend is one of the most practical and powerful framings of self-love that I know. Think about how you treat your closest and most trusted friend. You listen to them without immediately jumping to judgment. You offer them patience when they're struggling. You celebrate even their smallest wins with genuine enthusiasm and warm encouragement.
Right, and when a close friend makes a mistake, I do not immediately launch into a long lecture about everything they did wrong or remind them of every past failure they've ever had. I offer them understanding and perspective, and I remind them that one bad day or one bad decision does not define their entire character or determine their entire future. That's just basic human compassion between friends.
Exactly right, Abel. And so the practice of self-love is really the practice of turning that same quality of compassion inward and directing it at yourself with the same warmth and patience. You become your own witness, your own kind counselor, your own reliable source of encouragement. And over time, that internal relationship becomes the most stable and nourishing relationship in your entire life.
I think this is also a great moment to bring in another one of our vocabulary words for today, Anna, because I think it fits so perfectly here. The word is affection. Now, most people know this word in the context of feeling warmth or love toward another person, but can you explain how affection applies to the relationship we have with ourselves in the context of everything we are discussing today?
Yes, Abel. Affection in this context means a warm and tender feeling of fondness, care, and gentle attachment towards someone or something. And when we talk about directing affection toward yourself, it means treating yourself with that same softness and warmth that you associate with loving another person. It means speaking to yourself gently, caring for your body and mind with genuine tenderness, and choosing thoughts that feel kind rather than harsh.
hmm And I would use affection in a daily life sentence like this. He had spent so many years being incredibly critical of himself that learning to speak to his own reflection in the mirror with simple affection and warmth felt strange at first, but over time it became one of the most healing and transformative practices in his entire daily self-care routine. That feels like a very human and relatable kind of sentence.
That is a wonderfully human example sentence, Abel, and I think many of our listeners can feel exactly how strange and uncomfortable it feels at first to speak kindly to yourself. We're so conditioned to reserve affection for the people outside of us that turning it inward can actually feel almost foreign or even slightly embarrassing at the beginning of the practice.
Yes, it genuinely does feel a little strange at first, Anna. I remember the first time someone suggested I try saying something kind to myself out loud, and I genuinely felt silly and self-conscious doing it. But I think that discomfort is actually really important information because it tells you just how unfamiliar and unpracticed that inner kindness really is for most of us in our daily lives.
And that's such a wise observation, Abel. The discomfort is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's actually a sign that you're doing something new, something that your nervous system and your mental habits are not yet familiar with. And just like any new habit or any new language skill, that initial awkwardness gradually softens and becomes more natural the more consistently you practice it.
That is really reassuring to hear, Anna. And it brings me to something I want to explore a little deeper with you today. Because I think one of the things I notice is that people who do seem to have a genuine sense of self-love and inner peace tend to have something that many of us struggle to create and maintain in our relationships, in our daily life. And that something is what I think is called a boundary.
Oh, Abel, boundaries are so central to the self-love conversation, and I am really glad you brought that word up because it is another one of our important vocabulary words for today. A boundary in the emotional and relational sense is a clear and compassionately communicated limit that you set around your time, your energy, your emotional space, and your personal values in order to protect your well-being and maintain your sense of self-respect.
And a natural daily life example sentence using the word boundary might be something like this. After years of constantly saying yes to everyone and feeling completely exhausted and resentful, she finally decided to set a firm but kind boundary by letting her colleagues know that she would not be responding to work messages after 6 o'clock in the evening. And that one decision changed her sense of peace dramatically.
That is such a relatable and practical example, Abel, and I love that you included the word kind in your sentence because that is such an important nuance. Setting a boundary does not mean being aggressive, cold, or dismissive toward other people. It means communicating your needs clearly and respectfully so that you can show up in your relationships with much more genuine presence, patience, and warmth, rather than silent resentment.
Exactly, Anna. And I think one of the big myths about boundaries is that people think if you set them, it means you do not care about others, or that you are being difficult or selfish. But actually, the opposite is true. When you have clear boundaries, you are not protecting yourself from people you love. You are actually protecting your capacity to love them well over a long and sustainable period of time.
That is perfectly said, Abel, and it brings us beautifully back to the water bottle analogy we started with earlier. Boundaries are essentially the protective cap on your bottle of emotional water. They are what stop all of your precious inner resources from pouring out onto the floor at the first request someone makes of your time or energy. They are not walls that keep love out, they are structures that keep love sustainable and real.
I love that connection back to the water bottle, Anna. And I think this is also a really good moment to talk about something that comes up so often in conversations about self-worth and emotional health, which is the concept of fulfillment. Because I notice that people who practice self-love tend to talk a lot about feeling fulfilled rather than just feeling happy. And I am curious about the difference between those two things.
Oh, Abel, that is such a perceptive and thoughtful distinction to make. Happiness is often a temporary emotional state triggered by external circumstances, like getting a gift, hearing good news, or having a pleasant experience. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is a much deeper and more enduring sense of meaning and wholeness that comes from living in alignment with your values, your authentic self, and your sense of genuine purpose.
So fulfillment is actually one of our vocabulary words for today, and I want to make sure I understand how to use it correctly in real, everyday English. So a daily life example sentence might go something like this.
Although his job did not pay the highest salary, he found deep fulfillment in knowing that his work genuinely helped people feel better about themselves and navigate their lives with more confidence and clarity. Does that feel natural, Anna?
That feels completely natural, Abel, and it beautifully captures the essence of fulfillment as something internal rather than external. And the really wonderful thing about fulfillment is that it is much more consistently available to you than ordinary happiness is, because you can cultivate it through your choices and your values and your daily practices, regardless of what external circumstances are happening around you at any given time.
That is a really empowering way to think about it, Anna, because happiness can feel like something you are always waiting for, always chasing, always dependent on whether external life cooperates with your wishes. But fulfillment feels like something you can actually build and tend to from the inside, which gives you so much more agency and stability in how you experience your own life on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly, Abel. And that sense of internal agency is one of the greatest gifts that a genuine self-love practice gives you over time. You stop outsourcing your sense of worth and well-being entirely to the approval of others, to the number of likes on a post, to the opinion of a difficult colleague, or to whether every plan went perfectly on a given Tuesday afternoon. Your center becomes yours and yours alone.
Oh, I love that phrase, Hannah. Your center becomes yours and yours alone. Because I think so many of us have given our inner center away piece by piece to other people's opinions and external validations without even realizing we were doing it. And gradually, we end up feeling like we have no stable ground inside ourselves because everything is dependent on what is happening outside of us in the world.
That is such a beautiful and honest reflection, Abel, and it's the experience that so many people share quietly without ever putting clear words to it. And the journey of self-love is really the journey of reclaiming that inner center, piece by piece and day by day, not through dramatic revelations, but through those small, consistent pocket coin moments of genuine self-care and kind self-talk that we talked about earlier.
And speaking of that slow and consistent journey, Anna, I want to bring up something that I think is really important and that many people find genuinely difficult in our very fast-paced modern world. And that is the idea that deep inner peace and real self-appreciation do not arrive quickly. They don't show up like a sudden flash of lightning that transforms everything overnight in one brilliant moment.
You're absolutely right, Abel, and I think the speed of modern life actually works against the self-love journey in a really significant way. We're surrounded by content that promises instant transformation, 10-day programs, 5-minute confidence hacks, overnight mindset shifts, and when the deep, steady change we're actually seeking doesn't arrive in that instant, dramatic way, we assume something must be wrong with us or that we're doing it incorrectly.
Right, and then that assumption just feeds the inner critic all over again. It becomes another piece of evidence that the negative inner voice uses to say, you see, you can't even do self-improvement correctly. Everyone else manages to change quickly, but here you are still struggling after all this time. And then you feel even further away from the self-love you were trying to build in the first place.
That cycle is so real, Abel, and so recognizable. And here's an image I want you to hold on to for when that cycle tries to pull you in. Think of deep inner peace and genuine self-appreciation as a slow friend walking toward you on a long, quiet, shaded afternoon path. If you're rushing and hurrying and sprinting ahead, that slow friend simply cannot keep up with your pace, no matter how much they want to reach you.
Oh, wow. I really love that slow friend analogy, Anna. It's such a gentle and compassionate image. So the practice of slowing down your actual physical pace in daily rushing, taking fewer rush decisions, breathing more deliberately, sitting with your feelings rather than immediately reacting to them or escaping from them, is what allows that slow friend of inner peace to actually catch up to where you are in life.
Exactly, Abel. And it sounds so simple when you say it out loud, but slowing down is genuinely one of the most radical and countercultural things a person can do in today's world, because everything around us is designed to speed you up. Your phone notifications, your email inbox, your news feed, your social obligations. Choosing to slow down is a deeply intentional act of self-love and self-respect in itself.
And I think intentional slowing down also creates more space for that inner voice, the kind one rather than the critical one, to actually be heard. Because when everything is moving at full speed, there's simply no room for the gentle, patient voice of self-compassion to get a word in. All you can hear is the noise and the rush and the next thing demanding your immediate attention and energy.
That is beautifully observed, Abel, and it connects directly to one of the most important underlying shifts in any self-love practice, which is learning to be genuinely present with yourself, not planning, not reviewing, not comparing, not scrolling, just sitting with your own experience, your own breath, your own body in the current moment, and offering that experience your full, undivided, patient attention and acceptance.
I think that kind of presence is also what makes conversations deeper and more meaningful, because when you are truly present with yourself, you become much more capable of being truly present with other people. And that quality of genuine presence is actually one of the greatest gifts you can offer to another human being, far more valuable than any advice or solution or material gift you could ever provide.
Oh, Abel, that is such a profound point, and it circles all the way back to the core truth we started with today. Loving yourself deeply and genuinely is not an act of selfishness. It is the very thing that makes you more available, more open, more patient, more compassionate, and more truly present for every single person in your life who matters to you. It is the source, not the competition, of your love for others.
That feels like a really complete and powerful way to understand the whole foundation of what we have been exploring today, Anna. And I want to bring in our final vocabulary word for the day before we move toward wrapping things up, because I think it is a really rich and interesting word that ties together the self-love conversation in a really unique way. The word is unyielding.
Oh, Abel, that is a wonderful word to finish our vocabulary section with. Unyielding means firm, resolute, and refusing to give way under pressure or difficulty. And in the context of self-love, it describes the quality of staying committed to your own well-being, your values, and your boundaries, even when the world around you or the people in your life push back, resist, or try to guilt you into abandoning them.
And a rich daily life example sentence using that word might be something like this. Despite the pressure from family members who expected her to constantly sacrifice her own needs for theirs, she remained unyielding in her commitment to her own emotional health, knowing that maintaining her inner peace actually made her a better, more loving, and more genuinely present member of the family. That feels really powerful to me.
That is a genuinely powerful example sentence, Abel, and it captures so perfectly the beautiful tension between self-love and external expectation. Being unyielding in your commitment to yourself does not mean being cold or indifferent to others. It means having enough respect for your own journey and your own well-being to not allow guilt or social pressure to consistently override the quiet but important voice of your own needs.
And I think being unyielding in that self-respectful way is also one of the greatest models of emotional health that you can offer to the people around you, especially to younger people who are watching and learning from the way you navigate your own life. When children or younger people see an adult who loves themselves with kindness and dignity, they learn that it is safe and right to do the same.
Oh, Abel, I love that you brought in that generational dimension because it is so true and so often overlooked in these conversations. Self-love is not just something you practice for your own private benefit. It radiates outward and teaches the people in your circle what healthy self-regard looks and sounds like in real life. Every time you honor your own needs with quiet confidence, you are writing a living lesson for everyone watching.
Wow, that is such a beautiful and expansive way to think about it, Anna, that the self-love journey is not only about building a better relationship with yourself, but about contributing to a culture of emotional health and genuine well-being in your entire community. It's a ripple effect that starts with one person choosing to treat themselves with dignity and kindness on an ordinary Tuesday morning.
Exactly right, Abel. And ordinary Tuesday mornings are where all the real transformative work actually happens, not in grand gestures or dramatic turning points, but in the small, steady, daily choices. The choice to speak kindly to yourself in the mirror, the choice to say no to something that drains your energy without a long apologetic explanation, the choice to sit quietly with your feelings instead of escaping into distraction. Those choices are the real revolution.
I could not agree more, Anna. And I think that is a beautiful and natural point for me to do a comprehensive recap of everything we have covered today for our wonderful English learners who have been with us through this whole beautiful conversation. Let me walk through the most important ideas and tools we explored together so that everything can settle clearly and deeply into memory and practice.
Please go ahead, Abel. I think a good summary is always such a generous gift to our learners and to anyone who wants to carry these ideas forward with them into their daily lives.
So today we began with the understanding that self-love is not selfishness, but is actually the essential inner foundation that allows you to love others fully and sustainably. We explored the water bottle analogy, which teaches us that we must protect and refill our own emotional energy before we can genuinely overflow with patience and care for the people around us. An empty bottle has nothing left to give.
That is a perfect starting point, Abel. Please continue.
We then explored the room with two windows, the cloudy window of insecurity and comparison that distorts how we see ourselves versus others, and the green garden window that helps us appreciate our own unique growth and qualities with genuine warmth and kindness. Choosing which window to look through is itself one of the most powerful small daily acts of self-love available to every single one of us.
Beautifully summarized, Abel. What came next in our conversation today?
We talked about the stepping stones and pocket coins idea, which reminds us that building self-love does not require a perfect overnight transformation. Every small intentional act of self-care, a quiet walk, a kind written thought, a nourishing meal, is a coin in your pocket that accumulates over time into genuine and lasting inner wealth. Small actions done consistently build the strongest foundations.
Wonderful, Abel. And what about the inner comparison habit and the knife analogy we worked through together?
Right, so we discussed how constant comparison to others clutters the mind like grime on a knife blade, making it dull and ineffective. Cleaning the knife means redirecting your attention from other people's highlight reels to your own authentic journey, reducing social media time intentionally, and training yourself to say with genuine warmth that your timeline and your path are completely valid and enough exactly as they are.
That's a really thorough recap, Abel. And what about that one incredibly powerful magic word that we talked about for transforming the inner critic?
Oh, yes, the magic word yet. Adding yet to any negative inner statement transforms it from a fixed, heavy wall into an open, growing path. I am not fluent yet. I am not confident yet. I am not there yet. Those three letters completely change the emotional texture of the thought and remind you that your story is still beautifully and powerfully unfinished and moving forward even when it doesn't feel that way from inside.
Excellent, Abel. And what about the idea of the invisible teacher and the examination room that so many learners and growing people carry inside their minds?
Yes, so we explored the idea that there is no teacher hiding behind the sofa in your private inner world. Your thoughts, your feelings, your imperfect attempts, and your slow days are not being graded by some harsh external authority. Private and messy self-growth is genuinely how real maturity develops. Giving yourself the freedom to be imperfect and human in your inner life is not weakness, but actually extraordinary wisdom and courage.
And finally, Abel, what did we learn about the pace of the self-love journey and the slow friend analogy?
We learned that deep inner peace and real self-appreciation arrive slowly, like a quiet friend on an afternoon walk. Rushing and sprinting through life leaves that slow friend unable to catch up to where you are. Intentionally slowing down your daily pace, breathing more deliberately, sitting with your feelings rather than escaping them, creates the space needed for genuine inner peace to actually find you and settle with you naturally.
Abel, that is the most thorough and heartfelt summary, and I am so proud of the depth of insight you brought to every single part of this conversation today. Now, I want to take a moment and speak directly to every single English learner and every single person who is watching or listening right now, because I have a very special request for you today.
Oh, I love when we do this, Anna. I think connecting directly with the community is one of the most valuable and beautiful parts of what we do together on this channel. Please go ahead.
So, here is my request for you today, beautiful learner, and it is a very simple one that will take you less than 1 minute. I want you to go down into the comment section right now and drop one nice thing, just one that you genuinely appreciate about yourself today. It does not need to be something big or dramatic. It can be as simple as, I am a good listener, or I keep trying even when things are hard, or I make really good tea.
Oh, I love that so much, Anna. And I want to encourage every single learner to actually do it. Do not just think about it and scroll past. Type it out. Because the act of writing it down and sharing it publicly is itself a small but incredibly meaningful act of self-love and validation. It is one coin in your pocket. And reading what others write might just inspire you to see something new and wonderful in yourself today.
Exactly, Abel. And we read every single comment that you write to us. Your words matter to us deeply, and we're genuinely cheering for every single one of you on your journey of self love and your journey of English fluency. Both of those journeys take enormous courage and patience, and we see you and we celebrate every single step you take forward.
And I want to add that if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone in your life who you think might need to hear these ideas today. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for another person is simply pass along a beautiful conversation that reminds them that they are worthy of their own kindness and care. That is a gift that costs nothing and means everything.
That is so beautifully said, Abel. And on that warm and hopeful note, I think it is time for us to say goodbye for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Thank you for being curious, for being open, and for choosing to invest in both your English and your emotional well being today. That choice speaks volumes about the kind of person you are and the kind of life you are building.
And for me, Abel, thank you so deeply for trusting us with your time and your learning journey. Every moment you spend practicing your English and growing your understanding of yourself is a moment that truly counts. Keep collecting those pocket coins. Keep looking through the green garden window. Keep adding the word yet. And keep showing up for yourself with the same beautiful patience and kindness you offer to others.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep speaking with confidence and ease. This is Anna.
And this is Abel. And you have been listening to the Mr. English Fluent Tutor podcast. Bye-bye. Take care.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please click on the next video right now to keep your language learning and your personal growth journey moving forward smoothly. We have so many more wonderful conversations waiting for you, and we cannot wait to see you there.